Hi again folks, and as promised, here's the video for you to make your very own festive table decoration from materials you can salvage from your community spaces. Yes, your car parks, your supermarket car parks, your parks and other open gardens, as long as you take sensibly and sustainably, then there is no problem with you doing this at all. So what I'm going to show you is an arrangement you can make for £3, and the £3 will be for the following pieces of equipment. You will need a floristry foam holder like that. You will need a piece of floristry foam, and I'll tell you how to soak that in a second. You will need a candle holder. You will need a fairly Christmassy candle, and you will need some floristry wires like these in here, and that will cost you around about £3, folks. Now, before we start to look at the foliage that I've actually salvaged, well, you can see that this block of foam is actually quite sodden and wet, and the way you actually do that is to pop the block into an empty bucket or container and slowly pour water on top. If you try to actually push this into water, because the block is full of air when you actually buy it, it'll just float to the surface and it'll never ever ever become saturated. So once again, pop it into an empty container, effectively slow pour water on top of it, and it will actually soak into the block and you'll end up with a sodden block. It's really important the water is inside the block, because we're going to be inserting plant stems which will sustain them once they become part of your household and part of your displays for the Christmas period. So we pop our block onto the actual floristry foam container, and there's job number one done. Put our candle, fairly Christmassy look, nice and pink, into our candle holder and push down really tight because there's some holders inside, and then you put that roughly in the middle and we're virtually ready to start. So the other piece of important equipment that you're going to need is a pair of secateurs, and now we move on to the foliage that I've actually collected, and this is just some of the stuff that you can actually find when you're out and about, folks. So we've got good old-fashioned holly. Try and get some buried stuff if you can do. It's very traditional, isn't it? We've got conifer, and once you're salvaging conifer, try and use flat conifer so that it really makes a nice decorative display. I've found some bristlecone pine, look. It's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous for different textures. And then we've got some choisia, which is going to be lovely and yellow and bright in the display. I've got some brachyglottis, used to be called senecio, and that's going to give you a lovely grey. We've got some euonymus, has pink tinges to its leaves as it gets colder, look, so it's going to get even better looking than it is at the moment. And then we've got some ivy, and lovely ivy flowers with some lovely flat foliage. And then moving across, we've got some viburnum, and this viburnum is absolutely gorgeous. It's like a dusty sort of foliage and some black berries in there. So we've got all the ingredients really to create our festive display. We're just going to top up once we get there with a couple of other bits, and I've got some pyracantha berries, and I've got some lovely viburnum bodden and tensi dawn flowers, which once they get inside your house are going to absolutely smell absolutely gorgeous. And then if we feel we need to add them, we've got some really gorgeous red stems of Cornus alba sibirica. So let's make a start, and let's show you the actual process. We're going to start with the conifer layer, folks, and effectively I always start with corners and front and back. So literally the process is take a wire, and then you just literally fold that wire around, and the wire really is a guide because we're actually going to push the stem into the floristry foam. So what we're going to do with that, look, is guide it in and then make sure that stem is in the foam itself. Okay, push it down, and then we get another piece of flat foliage, and again using a pre-bent wire there, okay, pop it in and then pop that one on the side and push it right in, guys. It doesn't matter at all, just pop it right in. And once again we'll cut this conifer down, really lovely doing this on a day like today. It's quite chilly out here and it's quite Christmassy as well, you know, just remind you that it's the winter and Christmas is quite near, it's quite close. And what more could you want really from a, you know, a decorative display, something that you've created yourself, and that you know, you could give it as a gift if you wanted to. And by the end of this, I think you're going to be surprised as to what you've actually created for around about £3. A little bit of time and effort to go and source materials, and if you've got odd bits of conifer that you want to sort of pull together, look guys, then you can actually bind them together. So there's a couple of small pieces there that I want to use. Just bind those round. And you can see we're already starting to fill this in and get a really nice sort of feel to the to conifer itself. If you can find some blue spruce and things like that, then really it starts to fill things up, doesn't it? Again, we've got two pieces here, look. We'll just bind them together and pop them in. And just draw it together, pull them together, pop them in. Just a few more stems now, and then we've got that base layer already done and dusted, ready to go. So again, this is a Lawson cypress, look. Quite scaly leaves on a Lawson cypress, but really flat, and that's what you want really, is you want nice flat fans if you can do. And just broaden it out a little bit. Just a little bit more, look, we can pull together, and then we've got what's called the base layer done. Absolutely done. There you are. Within sort of a couple of minutes you've got a nice base layer you can actually work from. It's simple techniques, isn't it, at the end of the day? And like I said, a little bit of time and effort spent wandering around, just having a look at what's out there, and there is your base layer completely and utterly done. Now we're going to put what we call the structure layer in place, and that is going to be the holly. So once again we take wires and we're just going to guide the holly into place, and this is going to cover the base of the actual foam and give us a little bit of texture, look. So we just start to build up now, and the idea is that we cover the base so that you can't see very much of the foam itself. We're just drifting it in as we do. And all these plants really we're using today have quite a significance at this time of year for the Christmas story and things like that. Let's use a piece with berries in, shall we? It's all about joy and festivities, isn't it, at the end of the day? And you know, making a really lovely display that you'll be proud of, and just popping them in place. And working with what you've got. And for £3 at the end of the day, and a little bit of time and effort to go out there, you can even make it a family thing, can't you? Where you go out and you basically go and retrieve some holly, look, and basically get the family involved. Now if you've got stems that are flatter, look, it's not a problem. You just twist the wire around and then you'll insert it into the foam like that. So we will just pop that into the front there like that, look, and it just holds it in place. And now we're really starting to get some really nice texture, and we can start to feed the leaves around onto one another. and it's starting to come together really, really well. We'll pop that in the side there. And then I'm not going to use any wires on this one because it's got a really long stem, and we'll just push that down into there. Now we're almost ready. We may use, I'll use all the holly that I've collected to start to embellish things. So once again, we'll just draw the holly in there and just push it into stem. And this is really why it's really important you make sure that the floristry foam is soaked. So now we've got the base layer on, we've got the structure layer on. It's trying to put some embellishments in there. So we're going to use some golden choice here. And what better Christmassy colour could you want than the lovely, gorgeous golden foliage of Choisya Tenata Sundance. Okay, Sundance, it really does live up to its name. So once again, just support the actual display. We'll pop some flower, some foliage in there. And just start to feed it in around the outside of the actual display. And it just starts to build, doesn't it, folks? It just starts to look absolutely gorgeous. And then we'll do that around the back side here as well. But really, you've got a number of decisions to make when you're doing these things. You know, do you want it to look natural? Do you want it to be symmetrical? What sort of things do you want to pop in there? You know, and anything that's evergreen foliage, it's absolutely brilliant. Now, to add a little bit of a different texture, we're going to put some ivy and these lovely flat flowers of ivy, Glaudermereggio. That's sort of what the cultivar name is for this particular plant. And again, we'll just drop one or two of those in, because lovely. Once again, the significance of ivy at this time of year is absolutely vital, isn't it? It's vital for you to have some sort of ivy in the display. And just drop it in place there and feed those leaves round. And we'll pop another one of those at the back here. Just cut it down a little bit. We're sort of getting there, aren't we, folks? I mean, at the end of the day, it looks really, really crammed now. And I'll just put some euonymus in, and then we'll just embellish with a few other berries and bits and pieces like that. Okay, and these leaves just give an added little bit of texture, don't they, at the end of the day. So we'll add a little bit of grey foliage in the Senecio, now called Brachyglottis. Why horticultural bodies decide to change plants' names, heaven only knows. But effectively, I think they do it just to make our lives a little bit more awkward, don't they? Because you get used to a name and all of a sudden you've got used to something, and effectively it's gone, isn't it? You know. So I think we need to add a few more berries, don't you? We've got this far now, so let's really, really make it look absolutely fabulous. Okay. And we'll just drop a few berries in there in a second. I'm going to put a bit of variegation in there, I've decided, because I've got it left over. So I'm going to use it and just give a little bit of white in there. We've got some grey, we've got some yellow, we've got some lovely holly flowers. So let's have a little bit of a touch of variegated foliage in there as well. Pop it right in, folks, and really feed it in. And it is a little bit of fettling, isn't it, this? When you're actually working with these things, it is a little bit of actually working with the plants that you've actually got and just fettling things in. And then we're going to just finish off really by inserting a few berries into the proceedings. Drop that in there like that, look. And what started quite bare as a, you know, floristry foam holder with a candle, now all of a sudden seems quite fanciful, I think is the word I want to use at this juncture, as my colleague on BBC WM normally says, Molly Green. Juncture. It's a good word, isn't it, juncture? So here we go. We're going to drop these in here, down the bottom here, and just lay them on the conifer, and as long as those stems are into the foam, which they are, they're just going to sit lovely, look. And then we'll drop some more around this side. Pop them in there like that, look. There they are, look. And then I'm just going to put some, just to make it sort of quite balanced, I'm just going to pop some in this side as well, and the backhand side here. And we just drop them down below there. So they're in there, okay. And then finally, we're just going to take 3 of the smaller stems from the dogwood, from the corners. Around about the same length, and just to finish off with, we're just literally going to pop those in. 1, 2, and 3. Ooh, just missed it. So for £3, folks, and materials that you've salvaged from your local garden spaces, what do you think? A wonderful, wonderful festive Christmas decoration that you can now pop in the house or give away as a gift to your friends, relatives, neighbours. Go on, have a go and make yourself an absolutely stunning table decoration for Christmas. By the way, I think I said it in the last video, Merry, Merry, Merry Christmas. Have a great time, and a Merry Christmas from me and Charlotte and the rest of the team on Darren Rudge Laughing Gardener YouTube channel. Have a great Christmas, folks, and I'll speak to you in the new year.